All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. Let's start that conversation on State of the Nation. We talk about matters, politics, and everything in between there. My guest already with me in studio now. So let's start off with the front page of the Standard. Mass action warning. And this, I'll start with the Honorable Kagucia on this. Before we even get into the demands, because there are 3 of them that are outlined there, there were 7 demands that were made by the Azimio Brigade. Is this an extreme level of action, or is this reasonable? Mass action from the Azimio team. Is it a reasonable demand?
I think Raila Odinga has failed to read the mood of the people. After having played this game rather too long, people have now gotten used. In fact, Kenyans can almost predict what next Raila is going to do. Because he has done this year in, year out. It has become a pattern. It has become something that is Kenyans are getting used to. And so most of Kenyans, as I have seen, have distanced themselves from this whole issue of maandamano and mass action. And it's not because Kenyans have no problems. Kenyans do have challenges. The cost of living, of course, is not bearable, as we are saying. But again, everyone understands and knows that Raila Odinga has just come from a handshake government. And not a cent, actually, has gone higher than what he left when he left government just a few months ago. And now here he is now pretending to be holier than thou and asking Kenyans to go to the road to do mass action against what he...
But this is not about him, it's about a whole team. So I'm not singling out an individual here. It's about a whole brigade. Azimio La Umoja is a whole team. It's not
no. There is nothing like Azimio Brigade. It's only Raila Odinga. It's ODM. Who else is in
Wiper leader was there, Kalonzo Musyoka was there, NAC Kenya leader was there.
But who accompanied Kalonzo?
Jubilee,
who accompanied Kalonzo Musyoka, and who is Jubilee? Jubilee has been taken over by more progressive leaders. Kioni is clinging on a tribunal's decision, which is going to be quashed within no time because it can't hold. Because the takeover which was done in Jubilee was legal, it was valid, and it will stand. So Kioni will have no hold on Jubilee in just a few days to come. So for now, he can claim to be the SG of Jubilee, but that is not going to hold for long. So you cannot talk about a brigade, you cannot talk about Azimio. Azimio is now ODM, and just a few other people who are clinging on Raila, thinking and hoping that they can politically benefit when he probably gets a windfall through a handshake that he hopes to get, which he will not get. So the issue of mass action here has nothing to do with Kenyans. Every Kenyan understands that this is something that is being done by a selfish leader who is angling for a handshake and for personal benefit. And of course, you saw what happened last time. This same game was played in March and in February, in January 2018. And the moment Raila Odinga was invited by Uhuru Kenyatta on the table and they had a handshake, all of a sudden, mass action, high cost of living, and every other issue that was for the benefit of common mwananchi ceased.
Do you agree, though, that the cost of living is unbearable for
Definitely. The cost of living is not low. It's high. It's something that the government is working on and coming up with strategies on how to bring it down. But this government did not bring the cost of living high. The previous government left it high. And of course, we also understand all those other, intervening conditions that have made cost of living high. But the issue of mass action, or rather, the issue of cost of living being high does not guarantee or does not call for mass action. And all of us know there's a disconnect between the mass action to the issue of high cost of living and what Raila is actually angling for. Okay. We all know his mass action is only being, we are being hoodwinked, or he's trying to wrap his bad intentions with intentions for the common man. But you know very well, if today William Samoei Ruto was to call Raila Odinga to the table and ask him to sign a pact with him, if he was to do that, that mass action would die there. Does that mean that the public has been sorted? No. So Kenyans have come to understand that this has nothing to do with them. It has to do with power play. It has to do with Raila Odinga angling for a handshake, which William Samoei Ruto has clearly indicated he's not going to be intimidated, he's not going to do it.
Okay.
And so what you're going to see is that Kenyans are feeling overburdened. Right. In fact, many Kenyans now, what they are looking for is any person who can help them to come up and craft practical solutions out of this quagmire, like what the government is doing. The government is very clear that we want to increase production. We want to deal with the issue of production in this country so that we can hopefully bring the cost of living faster. We are also looking forward to long rains in just about a month, or even just a few weeks. And of course, once
which the scientists have said is most likely going to fail.
We have prayed. It will not fail. Things will work okay. We will get rain. And of course, once we get rains, we will have a bit of a cost of living also now, you know, getting to a better level. And of course, but there are more practical action that is being taken. You know that we are having a plan to do mega dams to do with irrigation.
Yeah.
I mean, all these are intervening factors that are going to help us.
Okay.
It's not mass action.
All right. Let me bring in Osotsi. Osotsi, I know you were the Jivaji Gardens where the declaration was made. Are these old tactics, or are we truly living in dire times that requires some level of mass action and action from the government as well?
First of all, let me greet Kenyans. Good morning to all Kenyans. I've listened to my colleague here talk about our call for mass action. I think I must say that the Constitution allows for picketing. It allows for the right to assemble, the right to free speech, and even demonstration, which they have demonized. It is allowed in the Constitution. And there is nothing wrong in Azimio exercising those constitutional rights. Secondly, the tactics employed by Azimio are not outdated. You know, when I listen to my colleague here, I think he's just talking propaganda. He is not being realistic because we have challenges in this country. We have high cost of living. We have challenges in the education sector, high fees. We have challenges in the health sector. We have challenges in the economy. These are issues that Kenyans need to talk about. And they shouldn't be muzzled because someone does not want them to assemble. We are engaging Kenyans on these issues, and I can tell you the results is overwhelming. He tries to make it look like a Raila issue. It's not about a Raila issue. If it was a Raila issue, then Raila would end up being alone in the rally. But look at the people he gets into the rallies. This was now our 11th rally. And those rallies are well attended. And people are never mobilized. There is no mobilization that happens in our rallies. People just come. They just come to listen because people are suffering. And they want to listen to leaders addressing their issues. You know, unfortunately, Kenya Kwanza strategy was hinged on the downtrodden people. And they used all tactics to get them to support them. They talked about hustler movement. They talked about even cost of living was an issue to them then. They talked about the hustler fund and all those things. But when they got into power, they have changed the game plan. Yeah. Now, they are not talking about the downtrodden anymore. If you see, even their strategy is around buying MPs. Now, what Raila has done has simply gone to fill that space, which they have left, and gone to the people direct. And that's why we are saying we do not care even if we remain two people. The fewer, the better. They can buy all the MPs, but we will go to the people direct. And I think they have started feeling the pinch out of these rallies. You know, when we started, they said, these people want chaos. These people want bloodshed. Property is going to be destroyed. But I want to tell you, we have done 11 peaceful rallies. And even this mass action we are talking about is going to be peaceful. But if they provoke those meetings, then that is when we can have bloodshed. We had a meeting successfully yesterday in CBD, Jivanji Garden. No single property was destroyed. No single person was harmed. It ended up very, very peacefully. So we are asking our brothers on the other side, please listen to Kenyans. Kenyans are suffering. And these are issues that Kenyans want us to talk about them.
Okay.
We cannot divorce ourselves and say we want to hide from Kenyans on these issues.
All right.
We have to talk about them. And in any case, they promise our people.
Yeah.
They made a raft of promises to our people. In 100 days, we are going to do this, we are going to do this, we are going to reduce the cost. You remember even the president himself said that as soon as I drop the Biblia down, the cost of unga will go down. That has not happened.
Okay.
Even the Hustler Fund. The Hustler Fund, no one knows what it is.
Okay.
It is another major scandal in this country.
All right.
Because the other day you had David Ndii confessing that indeed is a private enterprise. I have even heard the CS, the relevant CS, saying that some of the monies that he invested into the fund are private money. But later on, they changed the story and they said this is public fund. And no one knows exactly what this thing is. It is an illegal thing.
Yeah.
It is not going to benefit the hustlers.
Yeah.
And the hustlers have been left on their own. Okay. Right now, look in the newspapers. You see the people who have been shortlisted.
Okay, we'll get
for the positions of CS. None of them is a hustler.
We'll get into that in just a bit. But Honorable Aluale, you've been a long-serving member. Do the Azimio team have reasonable demands? And I know you interact with the people as well. One of them being withdrawal of food and education subsidies in the middle of drought and famine was reckless. Therefore, subsidies should be brought back so that the cost of living is lowered. Electoral deceit must end. Servers must be open and audited under the auspices of a reputable organization, failure to which they shall lead people to restore their authority. The ongoing reconstitution of IEBC must be a bipartisan task force. Do they have reasonable demands from where you sit?
Trevor, allow me to congratulate my brother, who I'm used to calling Speaker of Nyeri, for having become Member of Parliament.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I think you owe it to Trevor. He was giving you a lot of exposure.
He owes it to the people, Mkurini.
Well, you also have a small contribution.
Not so small, though.
Yes. And to answer you directly, I sympathize with my brother, Osoti. The things he's saying are true. But unfortunately, he forgets that, as Speaker said, Raila has already profiled himself in the manner he behaves soon after elections. So he's going through the usual steps of upping his stakes so that he becomes attractive for a handshake, so that he becomes attractive for a cut from a government that he did not work for. Yes, mass action, demonstrations, they'll be there. But it will depend on where the mass action is taking place. If, for argument's sake, the intention is to have mass action in Kakamega, which I know very well, we have told our people, and they do not have to agree with us, that the spoils of mass action usually help only Raila, his immediate family, and when he tries to stretch a little bit, his community. And it is there in black and white, documented. When Uhuru gave him the handshake, it was accompanied with goodies worth 250 billion shillings. And all these ended up in one place. Refurbishing of the railway line to Kisumu. International Sports Center in Kisumu. Refurbishing of the port in Kisumu. Refurbishing of the airport, thank you, I use it, in Kisumu. So we've told our people these things. is up to them to listen or not take it. But at the end of the day, Osoti, what is mass action? If you're talking about mass action, tell us. If you're talking about picketing, tell us. Because mass action was actually a term that people who were facing crimes against humanity at The Hague had to go all out of their way to demonstrate that they never uttered the word, let's go out for mass action. Mass action is the one that would lead into destruction of property, bloodshed, and loss of lives. How would any leader elected be a proponent of any of those things? Yesterday, which is the day they were at Jivanji Gardens, I congratulate them because they were not violent. And the things that you have tabulated were the things that were shouting to those youth at Jivanji Gardens. In the afternoon, the Speaker of the Senate gave the senators, very senior people like Osotsi, a platform to use to air those things and much more. They ran away from the House. So you have a formal platform which you can use, not only to address those things, but even legislate so as to make the cost of living come down. Guide policy that can make food prices to come down. Instead of you sitting there and doing it, they run away. They are not leaders. They are hecklers. Why are people electing hecklers into office? Full of hecklers.
But Senator, when you say that these things only help Raila, how does lowering the cost of living only help Raila Odinga? Because
it is not what he's fighting for. As Speaker has said, the moment Raila gets a handshake, the tire gets deflated. So what then normally happens? We want to say that the high cost of living that we see today is not a product of the last election. It is a product of the mismanagement of the economy by the handshake government. So we need time to fix this, and we are fixing it. And this is why step by step changes will emerge as we go on. They will not emerge because we've gone to Jivanji Gardens. You know, Raila's value has really gone down. At Jivanji Raila has to end up in Jivanji where there's a small crowd of people to capitalize on their idleness. The days when he would just cough and Uhuru Park is full. He's gone beyond his sell-by debt.
Okay. Let me hear Kagucia, so I'll come to you.
Just to confirm that, you realize that some of the members of parliament who have in the past followed Raila Odinga like a small god, religiously and with sycophancy. Quite a number of those political leaders now have also seen the light, and they have seen that this route is not taking us anywhere. And what have they now done? They have left that bandwagon, and they have said, we want to be part of Kenyans who are crafting a solution for the high cost of living. We want to be part of Kenyans who are thinking and using their brains to think on practicable ways of helping Kenyans to come out of the difficult situation they have been subjected to in the past. And that is why you have seen increasingly more members of parliament are actually throwing their support now behind William Samoei Ruto. You have seen in the last, I think, 1 week or so, we have had numerous members of parliament, especially from Luo Nyanza, who have decamped and have gone to have a chat with the president himself. We have also seen from Kisii Nyanza, also who have also gone, and also from the surrounding areas, they have also gone to have a sitting with the government to see how can we craft practical solutions for our people instead of talking of mass action, because they have also come to see that this mass action thing does not benefit common mwananchi. It is going to benefit a family, it's going to benefit an individual. It's not even a political party. And so we are in a situation where as a country, we have to rethink the approach, whether we want to go back to that approach. And because I have used this platform to predict many political happenings, like I did here, I think we were with Sam in that show, and I was with a member of parliament for Kamukunji, and I clearly told him, sooner than later, Jubilee Party is going to decamp from Azimio, because we know most of those members of Jubilee Party cannot stand what would come after. And I told them, I know for sure they will decamp, because they cannot follow the same pattern, which you are actually predicting here. Now, what is going to happen is that because the people are getting so tired of these antics, these old antics that have been used before, people are getting very tired. The leaders from Nyanza, the leaders from ODM, and also the friendly parties are going to say enough is enough, and they are going to chart their own way forward. In fact, the biggest challenge we are going to have in the next coming days is how to get an alternative leader to Raila Odinga. And what you're going to see is many leaders are going now to start rallying around a different political leader. I don't know who that is. And I'm very happy about the courage and the boldness that we are seeing with people like Honorable Karoli Omondi, people like, Professor Ojiambo, we have Elisha. We have gentlemen and ladies who have taken the bold step to start guiding. And I'm telling you, that is how Mount Kenya, we also liberated ourselves from the dynastic powers that were holding us together and directing us in certain ways. Okay. And I'm telling you, liberation is coming from for the people of Nyanza and for the people of ODM.
And I'd like to come to that in just a minute.
And of course, the Ototsi, is not an early bloomer, so he will you'll have to wait a little.
My brother here has just been elected the other day.
Yes,
so I also want to congratulate him.
Yeah.
But it is good to give him time to learn these things, how they work. Well, I want to say, Honorable Raila has publicly declared that he is not going for a handshake, and he does not want a handshake. And that's the position. And you have even had some leaders around him saying the same. This is not about a handshake. This is about Kenyans. And this is not the first time Raila Odinga is fighting for the welfare of Kenyans. He's been in this entire political life. When he started in the 80s, he was imprisoned because he was fighting for change in this country. And he's still on course. And I just wonder what would happen to this country if Raila Odinga decided that I'm gone, I've retired, and let someone else take it. We'll go back to dictatorship. And you can see your early signs of dictatorship are crippling into this regime. And it is important that statesmen like Raila Odinga stand tall to guide this country on the right trajectory. That aside, mass action, my big brother, Bonnie, has described mass action as destructive. Mass action is not necessarily destructive. I have said we have had 11 rallies, very peaceful. No single property has been destroyed, and we expect to conduct our mass action in the same manner, without any violence, without any destruction on property, but very effective. But very effective. You have heard about the Arab Spring. It was largely non-violent, but it brought changes.
So at the end, what
in the Middle East,
what do you want to achieve at the end of it?
You're not telling us.
Well,
Parliament are sitting in Senate, a review of the policies. What do you want to achieve at the end of it all?
You see, the point here is we have challenges. The cost of unga, the cost of commodities is up. What strategies are there to bring the cost of unga down? In an economic situation we are in now, which is economy is not performing very well, you don't expect a regime to remove subsidies from foods, from school fees, from what, at this critical time. Even if they are thinking economics, there is usually what we call social protection programs that are there to protect the downtrodden people. They came into office, the first thing they did was to remove subsidies. They have not told us how they have spent the money, subsidies money so far. Now, the world is going into a global recession. The effects of removal of subsidies are going to hit us harder. And the cost of commodities will just continue going up and up. They came with a program to import food, rice, maize, so that they can manage this cost of living issue. But that program is riddled with corruption. If you look at page 4 of your Daily Nation, it is clearly written there what is happening. So the government seems to be clueless on how to tackle the problem of cost of living. And as leaders, we cannot just sit there and do nothing. We have to talk about it. We have to pressurize them to do something. The issue of school fees, I'm sure we are going to discuss the CBC and education reforms. It is a mess. The education sector is a mess. And every time they wake up to do something, it creates more mess. So these are things that Honorable Kalwara has been there for longer than all of us here. We cannot keep quiet and say that everything is good. Let's give President Ruto time to organize things. We have given him enough time. He gave himself 100 days. He did nothing in 100 days. All the promises he made were never implemented. He asked for more time. It is now 6 months. He's still asking for more time. I mean, this country has a voice. We have the government side and we have the opposition side. We cannot fail to talk about these things. Okay. And as Honorable Kalwara is saying, we talk about these things on the floor. I was not there yesterday, yes, because I was in meetings, my committee, talking about issues of pending bills in counties, which affect our people. But we will talk about these things on the floor, and we will also talk about these things in public. And rallies like yesterday's rally is an opportunity to engage the people on these things. Okay. And Kagucia says, oh, people are tired. I can tell you people are not tired. Just look at the number of people who come to our rallies. Okay. No mobilization, no buses to carry them. They just come. This weekend we are going to be in Kakamega. No single person is going to be ferried. No mobilization is going to happen, but people will be there. Okay. And in large numbers. All right. Because they want to listen to their leaders, engage them on issues. Yeah. Engage them on matters that directly affect them. Okay. And as I've said, you know, I really sympathize with Kenya Kwanza. Because, you know, they got to where they are now because they were engaging the downtrodden people. They have disappeared. They have left people on their own. And they have decided to dine with the mighty. Okay. They have decided to engage the MPs. Okay. Buy them. All right. And you see, before I go, he has talked about Nyanza. You know, maybe you are still young in politics. But I can tell you, whatever they are doing now, it is not new. You remember in Nyanza during Moi's time, we had like 10 MPs. Odongo Mamo, Dalmas Otieno, and even with the most powerful PS for internal security, Zakaria Oyugi. But still, the Luos were behind Jaramogi. And that was displayed in 1992 election. Even in the 11th parliament, we had people like Osele, we had people like Ken Obura, around 5 MPs. Who tried to do what these guys are trying to do now. They were all swept away in the subsequent election. All right. Even the people they are parading there, people like my colleague, Senator Ogenda, people like Elisha and such, they will not withstand this pressure on the ground.
Okay.
It will be difficult.
All right.
And the Khalware talks about the handshake.
Yeah.
Let me just answer my colleague Khalware about the handshake and the benefit it brought. Yes, you may argue like that, that the benefit of the handshake to the people of Nyanza. But the question is, right now the Luyas, we are in you are in government through the Honorable Musalia and Honorable Wetangula. But what have they done for our people in 6 months? Nothing. You know, in the agreement they signed with Kenya Kwanza, they promised our people that within this period of time, within 3 months, one, Luyas will occupy 30% of all appointments in government. That has never happened. When you see appointments happening, it is either someone from Mount Kenya or Rift Valley. Very few from our region. Number two, they promised that they will give a plan to tarmac 1,000 kilometers of roads. Nothing has started. They promised that they will have full revival of Mumias Sugar Company in 90 days. Mumias now is producing smoke, and I thank my brother, he's fully supporting the revival of Mumias Sugar. He's producing smoke now, courtesy of Raila Odinga, who went there.
All right.
And
I have to take a quick...
started the process.
We are back with...
But now, the Kenya Kwanza government has done nothing.
Okay.
There is no plan.
All right.
There is nothing that is happening there.
All right.
And now you tell us about the benefit. Raila may have done that for his people in Nyanza. But what have you people done for our region, Luyaland?
Okay.
Zero.
In that note, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're continuing with the State of the Nation. There are quite a number of issues to talk about. We'll see if we have enough time for that. All right, see you shortly.